Samsung released 3 unique specialty cases for the Galaxy Z Fold 4, and each one is suited for an entirely different person. So before you end up purchasing the wrong case, go ahead and watch through this video to see which one is right for you. Before we start, I do want to quickly point out that I will have affiliate links for these cases in the description and in a pinned comment. I do get a small commission if you purchase one of the cases through those links at no extra cost to you. So if you want to support the channel, that's a great way to do it. Let's start this off with the Silicone Grip cover case. The outside of the case has a very rubbery, tactile feel to it, so it's definitely going to be easy to keep your phone in your hand. Flipping over to the inside of the case, you get a hard, smooth plastic on the inside, so this isn't grippy feeling like the outside of the case is. And while we're back here, you can see that there's 2 points at which the strap grabs onto in order to stay on the back of your phone. And that means you can actually take the strap off by putting your fingers in here and pulling outward. Then you can pull the straps through the case and not have the strap in it at all. Looking closer at the straps, you'll notice that there are 2 holes. So if you have larger hands, you can actually use the outside hole and snap that into place, and that'll give you a much looser grip to make it easier for your hand to fit in behind it. Looking closer at the top and bottom of the case, you'll notice that there are these 2 little adhesive points which will grip onto the phone. And this is to help the case stay on better because unlike a traditional case, which can grab onto all 4 sides of the phone, a Fold 4 case can only grab onto 3 sides, so most cases made for folding phones, like the Fold 4, will have these adhesive strips in them. I went ahead and switched back to the tighter grip option, and now let's take a look at the front cover. This is a thinner, hard plastic that doesn't have that same grippy feel that the back side of the case does. And looking on the inside of this case, you'll see multiple adhesive strips that run around various parts of the case. And again, that's just to make sure that the case stays secured to your phone. Putting on the case is pretty simple. You'd first want to open up your phone, then peel off all the covers on the adhesive points of the case, and pop the case onto the phone. And you'll do the same with both sides. The first thing I want to talk about with the case on is drop protection. So if I tilt this up, you can see that you do have a considerable lip all along the top of the device, which means you can put the phone face down and not worry about the screen touching the table. On the back side, you get very minimal protection for the cameras. As you can see, the case barely protrudes above the cameras. The only saving grace with this is that you have this grip point on the back, so if you dropped the phone on the back, it would likely hit this piece before hitting the cameras, so there is a bit more protection because of the grip. Looking at the side, we can see that Samsung opted for a full cutout, which gives you very easy access to the fingerprint sensor as well as the volume rocker. And flipping to the other side, you can see that there is no hinge protection whatsoever. Opening the phone, we can see that we do get pretty good protection all along the back side of the device. But if we flip over to the front side of the device, you can see that that protection goes away pretty quickly. So if I hold the phone up to the camera, you can see that there's really no raised bezel protecting the inner screen. So if you had this case on, then drop the phone on the main screen, you're likely not going to get any protection at all. In terms of comfort, the entire back side of this strap is extremely soft to the touch, and it's very comfortable to hold this for extended periods of time. In terms of usefulness for the grip, there are tons of different ways that you could use this. So if I was sending a text, I would hold it like this to be able to reach the bottom easier. But if I was going to be watching a video for a while, I could slide my hand up a bit and be very comfortable watching a movie for a long time. And even if I wanted to watch the movie with my phone turned sideways, I could just quickly adjust my grip and hold it very comfortably. So no matter what you're doing on your phone, you'll be able to find an easy grip point for you. Since the strap does add a good amount of thickness, trying to use wireless charging is really hit or miss. You have to get it lined up just right to get any charging at all. As you can see right here, I'm having quite a difficult time trying to get this to charge. There it is. Only took a couple minutes, but I finally got it to start charging. So if you do want to use wireless charging with this case, it's going to be super finicky and probably not going to work with all chargers. And the same is true for wireless power share. If you want to charge one of your other devices on the back of your Fold 4, it's probably not going to work. That said, if you were to remove the strap like I showed you guys earlier, you would be able to use the wireless power share as well as wireless charging features. So that's it for the Silicone Grip cover. Now let's take a look at the slim standing cover. The slim standing cover is exactly that. It's a very slim cover that can stand your phone up. And in terms of texture, it feels like a very soft rubber, but if you tap it with your fingernail, it sounds like a hard plastic. And the texture is notably different than the grip case. The grip case is extremely grippy. It's gonna be hard to drop the phone with this case, and this is a much smoother feeling case. There's still a little bit of grip there, but not nearly as much as the grip case. And the reason there's this slot here is because this part of the case actually folds up, and that's what allows you to stand your phone up. And while we're looking at the inside, there are two magnets here. There's one here and one here, and this bottom one does affect the S Pen, and I'll show you guys that in a minute. And these two magnets are what hold the stand closed so it doesn't just flap around when you're not using it. The inside of the case is an extremely soft material. It feels almost like a microfiber or even like a suede type material. So this is definitely going to do a good job of making sure the back of your phone doesn't get any scuffs on it. One notable omission with this back cover is that there's no adhesives on it like there were on the Grip case. However, the front part of the case does still have all the same adhesives that the Grip cover did. And actually, when you hold the two side by side, they seem almost completely identical. The only difference is a very slight difference in the color, which you probably can't even see on the camera. Let's go ahead and pop the case on and take a closer look. In terms of protection on the front of the case, it's going to be identical to the Grip cover case because again, these are basically the same front covers. Flipping over to the back of the case, you can see that it's slightly raised above the cameras, but really not that much at all, so I highly doubt you're going to get too much protection for your cameras if you drop this phone on the back. So when Samsung called this a slim standing cover, they weren't kidding. In terms of button access, you get the same cutout that you had on the Grip cover case, and you also still don't have any hinge protection with this case either. And because of that, this is the least protective case of all three of these specialty cases. In terms of stand usage, there's only two positions you can use it in. You can have the phone closed and the stand open like this, or you can open up to the main screen and keep the phone in the same position. This stand will not work in the vertical position at all. Your phone will just fall over. And since the stand naturally snaps shut, you won't be able to stand your phone up in the other position either. Fortunately, since this is such a slim case, wireless charging works with no issues. And the same is true for wireless power share. As I mentioned earlier, the magnet that holds the stand in place does affect the S Pen, and I can show you exactly where that magnet is by drawing vertical lines with the S Pen. As you can see, there's a certain area that's not filling in with these vertical lines. So that means this area right here is exactly where that magnet is. And if I were to flip the phone over, you'd see the magnet right there. Now, fortunately, this isn't too big of an issue because it's not often that you're going to be writing in this bottom right corner. If you're going to be writing anything, it's usually going to be in the middle and towards the top. Even if you were using the handwriting mode in the keyboard, you still wouldn't come anywhere near the dead zone. So the only people this is really going to affect would be artists who want to use the Fold 4 for a lot of drawing. And if you didn't know that there was a handwriting mode for the keyboard and you thought that was pretty cool, consider subscribing and turning on notifications because I'll be doing a top unknown features video for the Galaxy Z Fold 4 where I show you guys a ton of incredible things that your phone can do. Now let's take a look at my personal favorite case, and that is the standing cover with pen. And the reason this is my favorite case is because of the versatility you get with it. So as you can see, there's a number of different pieces that come with this case. You get the main back piece, which has a very soft touch rubber feel to it, very similar to the slim standing cover. And you also get these two attachments to use for different occasions. So if you want to bring your S Pen with you, you would just grab the S Pen attachment and slide it into the side until it clicks into place. And now that's going to stay on securely. It's not going to pop off at all. And even the S Pen stays in very securely. As you can see, I'm shaking this pretty hard and that S Pen isn't going anywhere. Then if I'm going somewhere where I don't need the S Pen, I can just attach the S Pen by sliding it out sideways and grab the stand and slide that in. Now I have a kickstand to stand my phone up. And before we put this on the phone, I do want to quickly flip this over and show you guys that the inside of this one is just a hard plastic. There's no soft touch materials or anything like that in here. And surprisingly, there's also no adhesive strips either. That said, I've been using this case for a few weeks on my Fold 4, and I've never had an issue with the case staying on. And not surprisingly, the front cover is almost identical to the other two, even the same adhesive strip locations. The only difference I can spot is a slight color variance, but again, you're probably not going to be able to see that on camera. Since the front cover is the same as the other two cases, you get the same protection on the front. Flipping over to the back and taking a closer look at the cameras, you can see that you have very minimal protection for the cameras for drops on the back of the phone, which is pretty unfortunate. The only advantage you have with this cover versus the slim standing cover is that this stand sticks out a little bit. So if you did drop this on the back, it would likely hit this first and not hit the cameras quite as much. And if I swapped the stand out with the S Pen, you would get a lot more protection because you have a much bigger bump here protecting the cameras. And one more thing I'd like to point out about these attachments, they snap in very well and very tightly. There's no way these attachments are coming out once you attach it in. And I've clicked these things in and out a ton of different times, and I'm not seeing any wear or tear in the snapping mechanisms. And while we're talking about these attachments, something very important about this S Pen attachment specifically is that this is a hard case. This isn't flexible at all. It's very, very rigid. So even with the S Pen out of it, if I were to open up my phone and lay it flat, it is gonna rock back and forth. So if you wanna do any sort of drawing, then you're definitely gonna wanna make sure that you first close the phone, slide out that case, then open it again so that your phone will actually lay flat. But even with the S Pen case removed, it does still wobble a little bit. And in case you're wondering, if you're using the stand attachment and open your phone, you will get a bit more wobble than not having any attachment at all. This isn't a big deal for normal use, but I figured it was worth pointing out. In terms of stand positions, there are 3 of them. So you can stand your phone up sideways with the screen open. And if you flip this over, you get a slightly more angled up version. And the third option is to close the phone and stand the phone up like this. Unfortunately, this stand position does put your volume buttons underneath, so you won't really have access to those. And if you tried to flip this over, it'll work on perfectly flat surfaces, but it's pretty upright and does have a much higher chance of toppling forward than the other position. Something that is not recommended is using it in portrait mode, because that's going to put a lot of pressure on this stand and likely make it break over time. And it doesn't matter if the phone is closed or open, it's still going to put an excessive amount of pressure on the stand. In terms of wireless charging, if you're just using the stand, wireless charging works perfectly fine with no issues at all. But wireless charging may be a bit more difficult to get to work because of this angled piece. That said, you can always just remove the attachment to get wireless charging to work. So which of these cases is right for you? If you just want the case with the best protection out of these 3, that's definitely going to be the Grip case. It's going to be much harder to drop, and even if you do drop it, you're going to get a lot of protection on the back of the phone. That said, if you just want the best possible drop protection, and you're not too concerned about having this little grip piece right here, then I'd probably just go with the Spigen Slim Armor Pro. This is going to give you full protection, including on the hinge. And I'll have a link to this case and the rest of these down in the description if you're interested. If instead of protection, you just want the best case with a stand, you could go with the slim standing cover, but honestly for the price, you can probably find a better option on Amazon. And if there's any chance you'd want to use the S Pen for anything, then I'd highly recommend the standing cover with pen. This case will give you the most versatility and is my personal favorite of these 3. And before you write off the S Pen as something you'd never use, check out this video over here where I show you guys more than 20 incredibly powerful S Pen features. And if you don't want to miss my unknown features review of the Galaxy Fold 4, consider subscribing and turning on notifications. And lastly, let me know which case is your favorite down in the comments below. That's it for this tech episode. God bless guys, and I'll catch you in the next one.